All right, so we're going to move into our last topic today. Our last topic it's not a fun topic to talk about. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to talk about it, but I think it's important. And, it's important to be aware of this kind of stuff and to, it is important to talk about it rather than just ignoring it and hoping it goes away. And I'm thinking about this new issue that happened on social media. Star Wars issued a statement last week condemning racist harassment against their employees. Star Wars has condemned bullying and racism directed at Krystina Ariel, but many fans are underwhelmed by the statement, seeing it as long overdue. So first, we have to address who is Krystina Ariel. Okay, well, here's a picture on her Instagram that she posted recently. And she was recently announced as the new host of the High Republic Show, which is an upcoming web series that will explore the creation of the new High Republic series, comics, and books. And you can see in her post here, she says, "I can officially scream, I'm the host of the new official web series High Republic Show. The first episode airs January 27th, which is actually in 2 days. So if you guys want to check it out, go ahead." And she says it's on the official Star Wars YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Incredible opportunity. And she can't wait to explore the High Republic era. So yeah, Star Wars has 3 shows on their YouTube now. The Star Wars show, What's New This Week, and now the High Republic show. So congrats to you, Krystina, for being a host of that. I've always kind of wanted to be a host on a Star Wars show, like on the YouTube channel for a while. So I'm excited to see other people get it too. But yeah, so Ariel has since posting that been subject to a bunch of racist vitriol from all corners of the Star Wars fandom, largely in response to her tweets when she was condemning systemic racism in the US. And we've been having a lot of issues with that recently, way too much for this past year. And it's sad, it's disgusting, it's disturbing. And unfortunately, we have to talk about it again here today. But again, I think talking about it will help get rid of it in some way, but it's important to talk about these things. So I'm going to put this up really quickly. These are just a few of the examples she put up on her Twitter. And I know it's a little disturbing to look at, but these are some of the messages she's been getting from people. And, they're using discriminatory names. They're putting slander in there, just terrible things to say to this person. And all she did was just say it's important for us to understand systemic racism and how it's bad, and it's just bad for everybody in the community. So on Friday, the official Star Wars account on Twitter responded to the mounting harassment with this post here. We support, our Star Wars community is one of hope and inclusivity. We do not stand for bullying and racism. We support Krystina Ariel, as do we on this show, very much so. And many fans were appreciative of this statement, describing it as important. However, there were also many fans that were quick to note past failures by the franchise to protect its cast and crew members of color. An example here from Julia Alexander from The Verge writes, "It's great to see Lucasfilm and Disney realize that they should stand up for members of their community who face unspeakable hateful harassment. It's still infuriating they did not do this for John Boyega, Kelly Marie Tran, Daisy Ridley. This is good, but we as fans should always ask for better." And it's true. For those of you that don't know, Kelly Marie Tran was bullied off of social media. Daisy Ridley got sick of social media, and she left as well. John Boyega, he's suffered harassment on social media as well, but what really did it for him was just the fact that he thought his character in the Skywalker saga was treated poorly, and because he was a person of color, and he claims they just put him in there to kind of check off a box and didn't really care about what they were going to do with him. Yeah. One of the biggest examples of this is the Force Awakens poster. Here's a picture of it here. So the American poster shows him as a main character, a very big character on the actual paper itself. But then the Chinese poster came out and they shrunk his character because they thought that he was putting a black person in their poster would give it less box office revenue. So they shrunk him. And he was hurt by this, understandably so. But the main thing today we're talking about is Krystina Ariel. overall, like I said, it's disturbing to read and talk about, but it's important for us to kind of explain what's going on. And Mark, I'm glad you're here today because being a person of color, I'm sure you have a complete different look at this than I do, a different perspective, unfortunately. And I'm sure you've dealt with stuff like this before too. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this, and you know, any examples you can think of that you can relate with in your personal life. Just what do you think about all this sad news?
Yeah, I mean it's just overall it's very saddening to hear the news about this, and the fact that we're you know we're subjected to treating people and bullying people, based on the color of their skin, like, like, and the fact that this is within a community of something like Star Wars, where the characters are diverse as much as the world is, but the fact that there's still hatred and bullying uh against one person who is just trying to do the best that they can for for something that everybody loves is very heartbreaking. And you know I'm glad that Disney and Lucasfilm, Star Wars as a franchise, is backing her, and just definitely condemning any kind of racial behavior, towards her, because I mean, that doesn't do anything, that doesn't change. you know it's just a bad example. That's not who we are as these Star Wars fans. Like, it's very, very heartbreaking to hear. you know
Yeah,
um, I'm glad that at least there's a small change that's happening, even though you know it's not going to change the full situation, which is racism. That's just it's another step in the right direction. But
you bring up a great point about Star Wars always having been inclusive, and it's not just current events where Star Wars has suffered from uh, this this vitriol and harassment towards their cast and crew and employees. The charge that Star Wars is racist dates all the way back to 1977. This isn't a new thing. Back then, people complained that the only person of color in the original film was Darth Vader, not because he was voiced by an African American, but because he was literally black. Those were real
oh,
complaints that were given by people at that time period. And to counter this criticism, that's when George Lucas decided to hire Billy D. Williams in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, he didn't do that because he had to. Originally, Han Solo was actually going to be an African American. That's also covered in last week's episode of the original scripts of A New Hope. Originally, Princess Leia was a Japanese girl, Han Solo was a black man, and Luke Skywalker was a white man, and he wanted to have a very diverse cast. So Billy D. Williams was eventually going to be, maybe not Billy D., but there was going to be people of color. But the criticism towards A New Hope encouraged him to like go ahead and boot it up forward a little bit more.
yeah,
And it wasn't until Return of the Jedi that we actually saw for the first time Asians and blacks and females as X-wing pilots. So it was slowly getting more diverse, but you got to remember at the time it was rare to do that kind of thing. So he took his time with it, but at a certain point, everything began to become very inclusive and diversive. And Star Wars, I believe, has always made a statement against discrimination in the vocabulary of space fantasy. That it's, in the original trilogy, when you think of the Empire, Mark, who are the bad guys? They're a bunch of white British dudes, right?
yeah.
The bad guys are a bunch of white British men. And even the bounty hunters they hire, those are the only ones that are like aliens, right? But everyone
Right.
else is a white man. But even then, they refer, like the Imperials refer to those bounty hunters as scum or alien scum. And the Empire remains distinctly xenophobic and speciesist in as an organization.
Yeah.
Now, the rebels, you could argue, also had no humans of color. but they are welcome to non-humans such as Wookiees, calamari, Solistani, and they, while they didn't have many people of color until Return of the Jedi, they were in a metaphorical way open to all races and species by including different aliens and creatures, whereas the Empire did not. So that's how they were metaphorically relating to this racism in our world in that way. And I have a quote here from George Lucas. Back in the 80s, he said, "One of the main themes in these films is having organisms realize that they must live together for mutual advantage. Not just human beings, but all living things in the galaxy are part of a greater whole." And that's kind of what we've been talking about here today in our own world and in the Star Wars world. It's important to be inclusive and diverse in everything you do. And it's sad when things don't go that way, but you know what? That's just the Empire, and we got to take them down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, the whole story has so many metaphors for real life situations, you know?